All right, so getting into this word for noise. I want to get into the Strong's definition for this word noise. It says from an unused root meaning to call aloud, or voice or sound. It says bleating. When you look that word up, bleating, the word for bleating, the definition for bleating, it says, and that's the spirit. It says the weak, wavering crying of a sheep, goat, or calf. And that's the spirit because, man, I said this before, and that's why I always say, I'm not a tough guy, I'm not a tough guy, because it takes a lot to shake me, but if you've ever seen, because I would always see these videos where these carnivores, whether they be Komodo dragons or whatever the case may be, basically it's feeding time, and the choice of the feed would be a sheep or a goat. And when I tell you, you hear the cries, the sound, the noises that these sheep, these goats, they make when they're getting eaten alive, it's one of the most stomach churning things that I've ever heard in my life. I'm not exaggerating, it's one of the most, it's a sound that you'll never forget, and it sounds similar to a human, very similar to a human, so a part of the noise that's going to be out here is that bleeding, that oh man, yeah, again, to show you that it's, hey man, it's going to get scary out here, hearing cries like this, naturally you would think it's a woman, but this is going to get so bad out here, man. The Lord's going to bring such pain out here that what you think is a woman screaming is actually a man crying in the background, screaming in the background. And as we know, or should know, hey, the Lord in that day of men are going to be as women. So, like I said, you're going to think it's a woman screaming. Come to find out it's a whole man, a mighty man at that, a so-called mighty man, some 6'6", Ronnie Coleman ass dude, getting turned out, getting eaten alive, whatever the case may be, So, hey, just to paint that picture, man, it's going to get bad out here, man. But on to the next video.
What's going on, youngin'? Since it start raining, you get in the house. They call me up, man. Let me talk to you, man.
I don't know, you ain't about to dap you up, nigga. You guys pants, boy, niggas will do you out.
Boy, come on, bro. You got zip on your jeans. These bitches tight, man. You can't even get up on. All right. My bad. Nowadays, bro, put that shit down. Pick these bitches up, man.
Shit, ain't no other way to live.
Hey, easy, y'all way to live, bro. Go to school, bro. Get your education right, man.
Nigga, I got my education.
That's not how you say that, nigga. Education. That's what I'm saying. You
don't got that shit, nigga.
I'm 16. You 16 with that shit on you. How'd you even get that? Back in the day, I would've, know what I'm saying? I would've got Neff on your ass, boy. I ain't gonna lie.
Man, fuck Neff. What the fuck is you talking about?
You see, man,
What's going on, youngin'?
this is why Jake, they got to get put down like dogs, man. All right. Because they don't want to be saved, they don't want to be saved, whether this is a skit or not, but nevertheless, this is the attitude of Jake. They don't want to be saved, and that's why at the end of the day, hey, the hell with the hell with Jake, And that's why, hey, I'll get this in Ezekiel 3. Ezekiel 3:7, but the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Israel are impudent and hard-headed. excuse me, hard-hearted. Behold, I have made thy face strong against their faces, and thy forehead strong against their foreheads. Because you see, people have this misconception when it comes to a man of the Lord. He's supposed to be some three-piece suit wearing Joel Osteen smiling ass nigga, man. But nah, man, hey, brothers are rough around the edges. Jake has to get cursed the fuck out. Jake has to get talked to a certain way. So if it comes down to it, hey, like I said, I made verse 8 again. Behold, I have made thy face strong against their faces, and thy forehead strong against their foreheads. Now don't get me wrong. Violence is always, the last option. Brothers try to divert by, any means necessary. But a brother got to take it there, because like I said earlier, hey, unfortunately, some of us are going to be put in situations to where we're going to have to defend ourselves. We're going to have to defend our families, our loved ones. And that will include taking a life or two, You see, man, so make no mistake about it. If a brother, has to take it there, then hey, we will take it there, So that will be the case for some brothers, having to take it there, man, But again, that's why, the Lord is going to really have to be on us. He's going to have to give us a certain spirit, because a lot of brothers such as myself, I'm not a fighter, Now I know how to defend myself, but that's why I always say I'm not a tough guy. I'm not a tough guy whatsoever. I'm tolerant to a lot of things. Like I said, it takes a lot to shake me. But like they said, man, don't take my kindness for weakness. Because all this built-in frustration, hey, it's gonna be released somewhere. That's that's why I stay my ass in the gym. Try to keep my ass occupied. All that power building up. That's all that frustration is. It's that power building up. But that's why it does take a lot of patience. Verse 9, it says, as an adamant harder than flint have I made thy forehead. For them not, fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go back to that Zechariah 7. Zechariah 7 and verse 11. But they refused to hearken and pulled away the shoulder and stopped their ears that they should not hear. So like I said before, when you try to, you grab someone by the shoulder, that's an act of kindness and that's an act of compassion and mercy. That's an act of love. You grab someone by the shoulder, right? But like I said here, they pulled the shoulder, they pulled away the shoulder, like fuck your mercy, And that's essentially what Jake is doing to Yahweh Shema Shai. You think Yahweh Shema Shai is not going to return the same energy? It says, yea, they made their hearts as an adamant stone, lest they should hear the law, and the words which the Lord of hosts have sent in his spirit by the former prophets. Therefore came a great wrath from the Lord of hosts. And you see why, again, we see why judgment is necessary. Matter of fact, verse 13. Therefore it is come to pass that as he cried, and they would not hear. You see, the Lord is begging his people to, hey, listen, I don't want to do what I'm about to do to y'all. Not seeing any father, me being a father myself. You try to, exhaust all your resources before you have to go there, man. Before you have to put that butt out, before you have to whoop ass, man, you try to, exhaust all resources. Because as a father, or in his right mind, a father in the right mind, they don't like to that's why to those of us, we used to hear the saying, hey, this is going to hurt you more than it hurts me. Or excuse me, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. And that's a very true saying. The Lord doesn't want to do what he's getting ready to do to 2/3, but hey, we see why it's necessary. And we're with it. Like I said, y'all, Jake says, the hell with you to Yahweh Shema Shai. You don't think he's going to return the same energy? Like I said, therefore it is come to pass that as he cried and they would not hear, so they cried and I would not hear, saith the Lord of hosts. So you see, man, the Lord is cold with it, The Lord is cold with it, and the Lord is about to give the ultimate cold shoulder, man. So, you talk about fuck around and find out. Hey, the Lord is the ultimate fuck around and find out. The ultimate form of fuck around and find out. And that's why we are not in our all Israel being saved spirit, because all Israel does not want to be saved, man. And that's why at the end of the day, the hell with Jake. The hell with these people.
Try the new sweet biscuits from Popeyes, and I'm about to rate it for you. So the looks of it, you finna see. Okay, this is gonna be my first bite of it. I haven't ate anything of it. This is gonna be I'm taking my first. Don't mind what happened to the rest of it. It came this little. This is my first bite. It went all that. I rated it 1 out of 10.
And just to show you the folly of these people, especially when it comes to Jake, you know, because this just don't make no goddamn sense. All right, to show you the folly of America, but especially when it comes to Jake. You see, you know, a lot of these Americans, man, they you know, have these hot dog eating contests. They they wasting food and shit like that. You know, just a city that, you know, they live carelessly, man. You know, and these other nations are part of why they're so pissed off. They hate these Americans, man, because they see this shit. You know, they see this shit. All these hot dog eating contests, you know, all this folly, man. And here it is. A lot of the countries over here, they're starving to death. You know, famine's going on in these other countries, man. And they're seeing this shit. How these Americans are living. You know, how they just, you know, take everything for granted. You know, that's why, hey, you know, we're telling these people, there's a famine coming. You know, and when that day comes, like it tells in Ezekiel 4, that, you know, when these people, matter of fact, I'll get it. Touched on this past Saturday, Ezekiel 4. Because again, these Americans are walking around here just completely clueless for the most part. Mainly Jake. They just have no idea what's coming, what's getting ready to happen. You know, we're telling you overweight, obese, fat asses that, hey, there's a famine coming. You know, the Lord's going to force these people on the fast. You know, and a lot of you people are going to become a part of the dinner party, man. You're going to be the dinner, man. You know, when the cannibalism comes back in a major way, in a way that we've never seen before, the world's never seen before. You know, Ezekiel 4 and 16. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weights, and with care, and they shall drink water by measure, and with astonishment. Like, damn, you know, because again, when that time comes, and all these plagues, all these judgments, the wrath of Yahweh Shemashai is poured out upon Babylon. You know, these people are going to remember, like, damn, they did tell us this was going to happen. Damn, you know, that's that astonishment. Like, damn, dog, they told us that we were going to be starving to death. You know, pining away, you know. That's when they're going to consider. You know, it says that they may want bread and water and be stoned one with another and consume away for their iniquity. So you see, man. All right, it's going to be a slow and painful death for these people, man, especially when it comes to Jake. We told you, people. You know, just big as hell for no reason. You know, I believe that the Lord has it to where, you know, because of course Americans, man, they're the most obese people, you know, most overweight country, man. And I believe the Lord has that strategically set up, because again, when that cannibalism comes back, these people, man, they're going to be food. They're going to be food. You know, it's going to get so bad here. The scriptures talk about how people are going to be taking a chunk out of their own flesh, drinking their own blood, man. That's how bad it's going to get. You know, and let me tell you, man, you know, I don't know how long brothers have, you know, gone on fast, dry fast before, but, you know, I've worked my way up to a point where at one point, you know, I was doing 3-day fasts, you know, no food, no water, no nothing. And boy, that shit hurts. That shit hurts you, you know. I don't know how long you're supposed to kick in, but I can speak for myself, man. When doing those 3-day fasts, man, you know, hey, you know, that shit hurt. You know, needless to say, you know, that shit hurt. You know, borderline hallucinating, you know, And I can see how, because it's gonna be like those cartoon commercials, you know, when the characters are hungry, right? The cartoons when they're hungry and shit, and they start looking at the other cartoons, you know, they're looking at the other people like they're a plate of turkey. You know, your mind starts justifying itself and eating another human's flesh. Your mind starts justifying wickedness, basically. You know, so hey man, the Lord, yeah, hey, you know, the Lord has it out for these people, man. Like I mentioned earlier, hey, the Lord sending them a strong delusion. You know, the Lord's gonna put it in the minds of these people to justify it eating another human's flesh, hell, their own flesh. You know, taking a chunk out of their own arm, you know, their own belly. You know, eating their own children, and so on and so forth. So it's about to get graphic out here, you know.
I do want to warn you, some of the images, some of the details are very disturbing. This was a young mother. She ran out of that house trying to get away from her ex-husband, went across the street, door to door to door, looking for help. Residents telling us, given their history, this could have been avoided. You hear the gunshots. Soon after, screams. A father calmly walking with his daughter after that.
She's behind him, and you could just hear her pleading for her dad to stop. Daddy, stop, don't do it.
Neighbors stunned. Deputies say 43-year-old Nathan Gingles ambushed his estranged wife, Mary. Her father and daughter were also in her Tamarack home. Nathan allegedly shot Mary's father during a fight. So she ran, screaming for help, door to door, Nathan following with little Serafina at his side.
I seen the father crossing the road with the little girl behind him. It wasn't really a run. It was more like a brisk walk, like he knew he was set out to do something.
I am definitely heartbroken.
Mary made it to the home of neighbor Andrew Farron. Nathan followed, shooting and killing them both.
This is something that has taken place through just pure evil.
Farron's uncle speaking out, saying his nephew had his whole life ahead of him. 35 years old, just trying to help. A lengthy history of domestic violence right across the street, he says, affecting his family now too.
With the failure of protecting this poor victim, this poor woman and her child and father-in-law, it ended up branching off to it affected our lives. Total strangers who lost a nephew, who lost his son. So it's very, very important that the domestic violence is taken seriously.
Nathan already had a stack of domestic violence allegations against him. Of course, he took off with that little girl. An Amber Alert was issued. They were fortunately found. Little Serafina was unharmed. He was arrested, but authorities later found the murder weapon ditched in a nearby canal. That's the latest here in Tamarack.
So you see, man, there's not gonna be so much more of these happy endings where, you know, oh, little such and such was such and such, and, you know, fortunately, you know, nah, man, it's just gonna get bad for, you know, as far as these people, you know, it's just gonna be bad, man. You know, again, through death by pain, the Lord's gonna make these people feel it. All right, from 2/3 to these other nations. All right, you know, but again, with that being said, man, it's just, you know, hey, wickedness is more and more, you know, wickedness has reached an all-time high, and it's just like, how much more wicked does this place have to get before the Lord destroys this place? It's only getting worse and worse and worse. 2 Edges 4 and 8. But as concerning the things whereof thou askest me, I will tell thee, for the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet. Because we just have a little ways to go. All right, that MOTB, you know, the main thing we're watching out for. You know, that MOTB, and once that is mandated, is like Apostle Tar says, it could be weeks, months, you know, before we get out of here, because it is going to get that bad to the point where the Lord is going to have to get us out of here, man. You know, quickly, you know, swift. Real quick. Malachi 3 and 5. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness. against the sorcerers and against the adulterers and against false swearers and against those that oppress the hireling and his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right. And fear not me, saith the Lord of hosts. So again, that's swift judgment. All right. You know, the Lord's gonna have to come quick. He's gonna have to move quick when that MOTB is mandated, because if not, you know, by the time the Lord did come back, you know, there would be no flesh to be saved. You know, back in 2 Edges 4:9. If therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, then cannot it come that is sown with good. So, again, man, you know, how much more wicked does it have to get? Because wickedness it's at an all-time high, and shit's only getting worse. It's only waxing worse, man. That's why, again, you know, just when you're out and about, man, beware, be circumspect, stay prayed up. Like brother said, keep your medicine strong. All right, because we're in real demonic times, you know. More and more of that gross darkness, you know, like it tells in Isaiah 60, right?
Presenting woman. And I am a feminine presenting straight man.
Merrin and James met online after a chance comment from Merrin on TikTok sparked a conversation between the pair.
Just was posting different pictures of myself, like dress femme, dress mask, and I had commented on this other Mexican girl's TikTok who was talking about how she thought that them men were cute, and I was like, oh my god, girl, you're talking about me, honey.
And then I saw his comment under that video. That's how I got to his profile. And then I saw his videos and I was like, I'll just flirt with him just for fun.
But I was also thinking in my head, like, this is just going to be a fun little thing that happens for a couple days and then it'll be over with. I never thought that it would be a real thing.
So you get the gist, all right? How much more wicked? You know, how much more is Yahweh Shema Shai going to tolerate this bullshit, man? These abominations. Like the scripture say, Lord, why hast thou made me to behold grievance? You know, again, coming in that spirit a lot, like how, you know, being vexed with the filthy conversations and the wicked deeds, man. How much more, Lord? And this is just a screenshot, one of many, you know. It says, Dude refuses to call an ambulance for a man who broke his neck because it will interrupt his live stream. Someone calling an ambulance for this guy. You see? And don't we see that oh so often? Someone's getting jacked up and everyone's recording and no one's calling for help. No one's calling 911. You know, like the scripture say, everyone shall be lovers of themselves. Again, the love of many waxing cold. People don't give a damn anymore. There was a point in time where people would look after the homeless. They would look after the elderly. Like I played the clip, man, you know, the pregnant woman, she's getting robbed in her house. You know, there was a time when the defenseless would be defended. You know, they would be looked after. But now, hey, people more and more are preying off of the defenseless, you know. So are we not in those times? And I got one more video. So you see, man, Shorty was about to get ravished. She was about to get taken against her will. Until this Captain Save-A-Ho, you know. But like I said earlier, hey, the time is going to come when all that Captain Save-A-Ho spirit, all that Captain Save-A-Ho shit, all that shit's going to be out the window. You know. Like the elder Malcolm always says, hey, you women, you like to ride that cock carousel. Well, hey, the time is coming. The cock carousel is going to ride you, and no one's going to come to defend you. You know, the scriptures say where there is no hedge, the spoil is the possession becomes a spoil, and you women are going to be without. You're going to end up becoming a spoil, man. You know, because again, man, these spirits, they're lurking, they're waiting. You know, they're waiting. You know, it's just a matter of time before the Lord activates these spirits, man. You know, it's just a matter of time, dog. And like I said before, you almost want to feel bad. You know, it's like, damn, you know, because even Yahushua, before the siege of Jerusalem, he looked at Jake, and it says a lot to me. It says a lot because, you know, here it is, Yahushua, he's an austere man. You know, Yahushua is an austere man. You know, stoic. You know, just knowing how Yahushua was and his characteristics, his mannerisms and whatnot. You know, but even with all that being said, you know, because, you know, Yahushua, he looked at Jake, man, because he knew what was getting ready to come. And here it is, Jake, they didn't know. And it's like, damn, you know, and that's when you read about Yahushua, he wept. He looked at Jake, man, he wept, man. He's like, damn, Jake really don't know what's getting ready to come. You know? So like I said, you almost want to feel bad for Jake, but hey, you know, hey, better than me, you know, better than us, the hopeful elect, you know, because, hey, they'll be back, you know, they'll be back, you know, and that's the balance of things, man. But I'm gonna get this because, again, it's just like, how much more wicked does it have to get? How am I, you know, it's just like, damn, are we not in those times? But 2 Esdras 15 and 6, it says, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So you see, man, it's only things are only getting more and more worse. And again, where we're at, you know, that MOTB, man, it's the main thing, the main thing that we're on the lookout for. You know, it's that MOTB is the main thing that needs to come to pass, and this shit's gonna be over with, man. Before we know it, we're gonna be in the kingdom in no time with Yahushua and the rest of the brothers, you know, the rest of the elect, you know, and it's just, hey, from there it's just gonna be peace and, you know, tranquility, man. You know, before we know it, this shit is gonna go by quick, you know, Lord willing, you know, sooner than soon, you know. But before that, all, you know, these things have to take place, and we are clearly in those times. You know, we are clearly in those times. You know, so Lord willing, this was edifying, and giving all praises to Yahweh Shemel Shai. Shalom to you, hopefully elect.